Hi! To the Asian Virtual Conference on Multidisciplinary Research, I am your presenter from Cluster 2 Educational Technology, a senior high school student from Emilio Aguinaldo College, Cavite, Buena R.J. Vincenti. Let me start my presentation in discussing the research of Montero G. et al. 2014 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, entitled Flours and Instant Soup from Tilapia-Waste as Healthy Alternatives to Food Industry. Their research is a feasibility of creating and making a new potential product to the market, which is tilapia waste flour. They produce this kind of flour to be inculcated specifically to bread to improve its nutritive content, such as its protein percentage content, which is actually, and to be observed, very low according to their research, as we know that bread is one of the staple food that everybody knows about. This needs to be improve or to be innovative for the benefit not only of the business but for the consumers' health. So that's why the researchers come up to the research entitled Consumers' Affirmation to Bread Made Out of Tilapia Waste Flour as an Added Nutritive Content to Bread Production. Discussing the background of the study through its introduction, according to Castro Munoz et al. In 2018, food industry nowadays has constraints to food waste problems. That's why they are achieving the development of food waste recycling techniques, of creating new products to be inculcated to the product to be resulted as innovative one, not only for the benefit of the business and the profit itself, but also the benefit of the consumer's health once introduced in the market, as the purpose of the study is to introduce this potential product to the consumers. It is also to adhere the problems of the food industry as they are concerns to food waste disposal problems. As the scope and the limitation of the study, this study will cover the research about how the tilapia waste flour is going to be inculcated to a commercial bread and introduced to the consumers, and how are they going to affirm and to be satisfied with this new type of product. In the theoretical framework used by the researchers, entitled The Chicago Herald Cooking School, a professional cook's book for household use in 1883 by Jessup Whitehead, and the theory process according to the Norway and Norwegians in 1840 by R.G. Latham. The researchers followed the process in these two theories, in the two researches or the two related literature that we found, as they created the process of drying the fish, pounding the fish, and grinding the fish to its powderized form, and inculcated it to the flour to improve or to enhance its nutritive content as the flour itself. Discussing the conceptual framework of the study with its independent variable, the bread palatability in terms of its taste, appearance, texture, smell, and its new and unusual product in the market. As the dependent variable that being affected is the consumer satisfaction and affirmation, and lastly is how is it going to be purchased by the consumers once released in the market. As the end goal of the research is, once again, producing a new and innovative product not only for the business profit but also for the consumers itself. Discussing the research methods and design, sampling techniques, and the research instrument used by the researchers in the research. The research method and design, this research is a quantitative type of research that used experimental approach, as the sampling techniques used by the researchers uses a simple random technique without classifying any characteristic and criteria to its respondents. However, the population or the number of respondents is subdivided into strata to represent the whole population of the consumers. The research instrument used is a survey form with a Likert scale, formulated questionnaires, and two sample products of commercial bread and the innovative bread to be evaluated by the consumers or the respondents. So let's discuss the results and discussion done in the data gathering procedure by the researchers. With the use of survey form with the Likert scale, we're able to gather sa data and to have a conclusion according to the evaluation of the consumers in terms of its texture, taste, mouthfeel, and overall palatability, which all resulted to be moderately satisfied. The next evaluation is how are the consumers' affirmation to modified bread in the market resulted to be moderately satisfied. Bread B as a commercial bread resulted to be moderately satisfied, and modified bread over the commercial bread resulted also to be moderately satisfied. For the last set of going to the conclusion of the study, what are the difference of tilapia waste flour to the usual flour used in bread production based on consumers' evaluation in terms of its taste, texture, smell, and appearance? Using One Way Anova, we are able to come up to the conclusion of accepting the null hypothesis of the research, which to be interpreted by there is no observed difference between the use of tilapia waste flour and the commercial flour to the outcome of the product. That means that there are no observed difference between the commercial bread flour and the innovative ones when it comes to the consumer's evaluation in terms of its taste, texture, smell, and appearance. Next conclusion is, for the conclusion number 2, is there any difference in consumers' acceptance of bread made out of tilapia waste flour and bread made out of the usual ingredients? Using the same process of One Way Anova, resulted to accept the alternative hypothesis and to be interpreted as consumers' acceptance of traditional bread is still dominant to the consumer's acceptance of the new modified bread. However, explained by Adeboye in the research of Adeboye in 1996 that the neglect or the dissatisfactory of the consumers to a new innovative product is normal, as this requires a time of adjustments to the taste buds, to the food preference of the consumers as the generations go by. However, the recommendation to food industry that this process or this type or technique of innovating new product is still necessary for the future consumers to have the benefit of a healthier and more nutritious food. And for the last conclusion is, what is the rate of mass consumer satisfaction toward the bread made out of tilapia waste flour? Using the One Way Anova, it resulted to accept the alternative hypothesis, which resulted to be that the research concluded that in the new and innovative bread with the use of tilapia waste flour to be produced in the market, accepting the alternative hypothesis of the study, of which consumers are still highly satisfied with the commercial bread over the innovative bread. As I've said in the research of Adeboye in 1996, that consumers' dissatisfaction, or not totally dissatisfaction, however, their dominant side of still liking the commercial bread one is still normal. As the time goes by, it need to be accepted to the consumer's preference, to the consumer's time of demand, as it is still new to the market and we cannot force the consumers to consume whether if they are dissatisfied towards the product. So this is the summary of the One Way Anova we have conducted, comparing the one sample t-test and the critical value of the study. For the conclusion number 1, it is clearly stated that accepting the null hypothesis is dominant. For the conclusion number 2, accepting the alternative hypothesis is dominant. And for the conclusion number 3, accepting the alternative hypothesis is dominant, which I have discussed previously to the questionnaires or the problem that I have stated earlier. And lastly is for the reference that has been used in conducting, and one of the most helpful foundation that we, the researchers, have used in creating and making the success of this research. So once again, thank you for listening. I am your presenter, Benafi RJ Vincenti, a senior high school student from Emilia Aguinaldo College, Cavite. Thank you.